Evening all, welcome to Kicking Dust. Right, today we have for you a bit of a celebration of the mass drivers. So we're also going to talk about equipment and I think just generally talk about, I guess, the state of the game at the moment. Now, I'm amazed how much I've been playing Dust lately. Not feeling too well as well. I mean, I've got that bloody cold yet again. Every time I go to London, I always get sick. And I'm in London most weeks, so it does feel like I pick up. I might as well just go onto the tube, the subway, that is, and just lick the floor of the carriage because it just feels like I'm picking up every God knows what out there. So, anyway, what's going on currently, I think, in the game is obviously still the AR kind of TTK discussion is still quite prevalent. Now, I would honestly say that I've kind of morphed past this. I know my previous video really did talk about this, but I've got to admit, lately I've not been feeling the kind of AR, damage mod stomp as much as I have lately because I have completely changed my tactics, and this has worked quite well. Let me explain how we're doing this, because a lot of the time it's just about changing the game. And too many players, I think, I mean, again, this is maybe just my familiarity with CCP, because they have a very unusual development process, which is they will change the game and then kind of see what happens. And I think that that's actually quite a good way to do it, because it does make for quite a kind of exploratory game. So things would change in Eve that would then, after a bit of, review, discussion, and maybe contemplation, you would realize, aha, that's quite powerful. So Dust is no different. So when the TTK issue came in, so ARs and damage mods became ridiculously good, I was losing prototype after prototype, and I was killing lots, but I was also dying lots. So, in the long run of it, it's not as satisfying a game as I maybe was thinking. So what I did is obviously change. In the previous video you saw I changed to laser rifle, and I must admit I've had a real riot doing that, because it's forced everybody back. So what I'm really loving right now is seeing the typical AR people trying to stomp me. I'm engaging them at a distance, which means their ARs are useless, and I'm keeping at that distance. So if they come towards me, I back off. If they try and run away, I move forward and kill them. And I got to admit, it is working lovely. And I think also things like the mass driver right here, this is, you're not going to really win an assault rifle battle with a mass driver unless you're at a higher advantage to them. So start to maybe just think about how the game can be, adjusted and molded to your play style. And you're not going to get 30 kills in a match with a laser rifle unless you're really good, but I probably would guarantee you'll only die twice, maybe 3 times. And I think that's something to consider, because I've got to admit I have played a huge amount of Dust lately, and I've been enjoying it quite a lot, because I feel that my little tactic is working very well. So I'm really loving engaging AR proto dudes and just laughing off their kind of over optimal shots, which do very little plinking damage to my shield as I put a laser round through their face. And I like that. I think this and to be honest with you, again, this is just familiarity with the way CCP are. You have to adjust to the game. You adapt or die. And I think it's fascinating all the people who are saying, I'm quitting just because their piece of the game is crap. I get it. I do understand that. But I think there is still a very good game here. In fact, it's an even better game than it ever has been. You just have to adjust to the new way. And again, this is what kept Eve alive. Eve... And, most MMOs get boring as balls when somebody figures out the best fit and that's it. And because the developers don't have the balls to change it, then that game literally starts to die. CCP have got some balls in that they will always keep changing the game, balancing and nerfing and adapting and buffing stuff. And I think this is where, again, my love of Dust has really come back, because I'm back to using a gun that I really did like, the laser rifle. So I think it's worth considering looking at other guns. Maybe try the scrambler rifle. I've seen a lot of people getting incredibly good kill runs with just the Imperial at the moment, because it just seems to be a very powerful gun. I think you do need to adapt. You maybe also need to change your suits up a bit. So I think sometimes, what worked previously won't. Hit point tanks generally don't work anymore. So with my laser rifle suit, I'm actually running it mostly with damage mods, because again, that's the way the game is going. You can't really, you can't just sit there and pine for the old ways, because frankly, they're gone. and they're not really going to return. So I think don't sit there and try and make petitions online about, you know, TTK adjustment, whatever. You have to adapt to the game, and I know that really does suck, but at the end of the day, I promise you'll come through and you'll have much more fun with it. I ran AR and I ran, you know, prototype tanked 1,000 hit point suits. I would go 30 kills and 1 death, and I loved it. When the TTK thing came in, I had to adapt. My 1,000 hit points meant nothing anymore. Even running prototype meant nothing anymore, so I actually probably did better with the assault advanced suit. So the scout suit currently is not particularly great, but I'm seeing that people are really learning that actually it's probably best not to tank the scout suit and just run a full speed mod, but then play differently. Don't try and engage people at the front. I saw a really good scout yesterday who was using equipment really well, so running past people, dropping remote explosives, and boom. He was also doing some very kind of good stealth work. So, you know, when he would see somebody run by, he wouldn't engage them head on, because the assault rifle will rip him to pieces. He would wait for them to run past and then take his shotgun out and kill them from behind. Great stuff, simple stuff. It's tactical. It's much better than it was. And I think, you know, the game is getting better. I think it is being enriched, and I know a lot of you will disagree with that, but you know, I think this is only from my point of view, because I have already adapted. I've already kind of changed my suits, my playstyle. I actually deleted all my suits, would you believe, and started again. And I think that was quite an enjoyable process, because you could really sit and think, you know, what actually does work nowadays. You know, hit point tanks generally don't. You need to have a bit of survivability, but I think the damage output is probably very key. I also think the ability to kind of, you know, change your play style is quite important. So too many players are just into the Battlefield 4 kind of mentality of rushing in, killing everybody, then running out. And if you're a very good shot, then that'll work for you. But the reality is now is I think that taking a much more kind of, you know, distant approach, or even just taking a much more kind of stealthier approach, I think is certainly seeming to pay dividends lately. The knowledge of the map is not to be underestimated here as well, because one of the key things that you find, for example, we are beating Dust Uni and the other guys here because we know this map probably a bit better than them. We know that you have to rush this elevated central point. If you don't get it, you're not really going to win this map. It's very difficult to win this map, rather. We noticed also that the fits were not great. So, you know, there wasn't a good range of fits. With this map, you need to have forge guns, like as you see there, to shoot down dropships as they come in. So pretty much once you've got this elevated position, you've got the dropships, you've got the spawn, you've got the ammo, you are very hard to displace. And I think even orbitals will not displace you from this because the building covers you. So, you know, again, just knowledge of each of the maps is, I think, really what is winning people the games now. So I think certainly when you go into a game, have a look around. Now, there's a little trick for this. If you want to maybe just fly around the map and have a bit of a play, then go onto the Asia or Oceania server at odd times. So, you know, go when it's like 2 in the morning for them, and you'll be able to run any, you know, an ambush or even, you know, any mode really, and you'll be able to actually have a look around the map with maybe half the map filled. Maybe even less, to be honest. We actually got into a map recently just to have a look around, just to do a bit of filming, have a bit of a play, and I think there was an ambush, and it was me and one other guy. One other guy, literally. And that was great because it gave me a bit of an opportunity to do some filming, to do some stuff, and I even killed him with the dropship, so I'm happy with that. But I think, you know, a lot of the time you have to kind of think about what you know, what the team's running, because again, I think a lot of the time I've got frustrated a little bit lately because we've been running with teams that are kind of not necessarily running the right equipment. Now, I mean, I'm not trolling anyone. It's probably my fault more than anybody's, because I'm kind of sticking to this different role. But you know, having the ability to have spawns in the right place is so important with these maps, particularly. And if you don't have a good spawn point dropper in your team, you're screwed. You know, to be honest, in these maps, I don't know if you can see the little cluster. We've got about 15 drop pads up. We've probably got about the same number of ammo Wurakomi Reaper hives, and so on. So don't disregard equipment as well. I think equipment is actually what will win these things for you, because if you can't spawn in at the point, I mean, look at that. There's one spawn pad down. From what we can scan and see, they have one spawn pad down. When that guy dies and he doesn't drop, you know, there's no more spawn pad, as you just see there. The you know, the round's over again, and it's like, it's almost kind of surprising to see sort of top tier, you know, corps not really getting that. And I think there's a lot of this kind of thing, like you need, in every group, you need someone who can fly a dropship. I know that's so stupid, but you know, every group needs the ability to fly a dropship and call one in and fly it. Same with probably a tank, because if you get out tanked, you know, you need to bring a Railgun tank in. These are all counters, and I think the strongest squads are just people who know how to do that. So for example, if you redline someone, if you want to still get kills, you need to have a laser rifle. And it's just simple things like this that I think people maybe forget. No troll, no kind of flame or, you know, intended there. I think it really is just always make sure that you're looking at your squad and your own capability as best you can. If you are an incredibly good heavy, but that's all you do, then if you go into a domination with 6 good heavies, what use is that if none of them can drop an ammo or, you know, spawn pad? If nobody can fly a dropship, then you can't get us off that top bit. If nobody can, you know, man a forge gun, then you're going to be completely swamped. So it's all kind of a bit of a card game where, you know, X trumps Y, and I think people often forget that. Anyway, there we go. Quick shout out. SquadB.com is now live again. And what we're doing after every video is we're actually writing a little bit of an article on each of the videos and its topic. So please go and have a look at it, SquadB.com, and have a look at the articles there. With, you know, some of them are trolly, but some of them are quite serious. So hopefully you go and check them out. Hope you enjoyed that. See you next time.